Hey folks, when I first started listening to bluegrass, I had a hard time following fiddle tunes. Remember, in this context, when I say fiddle tune, I just mean instrumental. There are technically banjo tunes and mandolin tunes, but it's pretty common to just lump all instrumentals together underneath the umbrella term fiddle tunes. Now, this trouble with listening to fiddle tunes is something that I see in my students that are super fresh to bluegrass. So I thought it might be helpful to give you some examples of fiddle tunes and break down all the conventions and even give you a list of fiddle tunes that you might start out with. If you're not a beginner, you might still want to stick around because once you're familiar with all of the conventions that I'm about to lay out, you'll be way better equipped to write your own fiddle tunes. Especially the bit at the end when I talk about melodic forms. You want to stick around for that. By the way, I wanted to mention that there are some new Lessons with Marcel hats, like this one right here, the serial number from the Antique, the guitar that famously belonged to Clarence White, Tony Rice. There's also this one in case you forget what a guitar is and or how to tune it. So the first thing you have to know is that fiddle tunes are generally 32 bars long, but inside of those 32 bars are multiple sections. We refer to those sections by letter. So typically we have an A part and a B part. Each part is 8 bars long and normally played twice. So 2 A's and 2 B's, 8 bars plus 8 bars plus 8 bars plus 8 bars, all adds up to a 32 bar form. Bars. Now fiddle tunes can be longer than 32 bars, but that is slightly less common. And in those cases, we might have, C parts or even D parts. And in these less common examples, some of the parts might not even be 8 bars long. A good example of a tune like that would be Jerusalem Ridge. In a casual group setting, people sometimes call these tunes jam busters because if everyone isn't familiar with the tune, it just kind of falls apart. Speaking of group settings, at a bluegrass jam, everyone gets a chance to play lead or a break over the AABB form. This is normally done by taking turns around a circle. So if I start the tune, I will play lead over AABB, then the next person goes, then the next person goes, all the way around the circle back to me. Normally at this point, I get to decide if we're going to go around the circle again or if we're just going to end it. If you want a little more info on the jam etiquette surrounding starting and ending tunes and more, you should check out my video called Always Do These Things at the Bluegrass Jam. So let's look at some examples. By the way, all of these examples are available on my website, lessonswithmarcel.com, as PDFs. I'll try to mention the names and difficulties of the tabs as we go. So one of the most popular fiddle tunes is Salt Creek, and this perfectly shows the form that we just discussed. So we have an 8-bar A part and an 8-bar B part. And these repeat signs at the beginning and end of each part let us know that we have to play 2 A's and 2 B's. Easy. This is probably one of the reasons that it's such a popular tune. If you want to get this on the website, it is the intermediate Salt Creek that we're looking at right now. There's not a whole lot more to say about this. If you go and listen to a recording of Salt Creek, you should be able to hear, oh, there's the A part and there's the B part. So for that reason, I'm not going to play an example because 32 bars is a lot of time. Let's look at a more interesting example. Another very popular tune is Arkansas Traveler. This tune has the same AABB form, but it has pickups. Pickups are these small introductory phrases that help you get into the parts. So that means our music looks a little bit different. We still have an 8-bar A part, but you'll notice this extra measure at the beginning. That's a pickup. Since it doesn't appear within the confines of the repeat symbols, we don't need to play it again when we repeat the A part. You'll also notice this extra measure at the end. This is a second ending. You can always spot first and second endings by these brackets up above. So for our first A part, we played the first ending, and for our second A part, we played the second ending. But why do we have 2 endings? Well, you'll notice that the first ending has a pickup for the A part repeat. So starting at the first ending, pickup. And the second ending includes a pickup for the B part. So starting at the second ending, pickup, we're into the B part. The same is true for the B part, right? Our first and second endings point us to the next sections. So our first ending in the B part will take us back to the B part, and our second ending in the B part in this particular arrangement takes us into another A part. You can get this one on the website too, by the way. It's the intermediate Arkansas Traveler. Now that's all good. That's gravy. I don't think any of the written music will confuse us, and we know how the larger form works, but what about how melodies work inside of A parts and B parts? Let's look at Red Haired Boy for this example. Now I'm going to use a few terms that aren't really popular in the bluegrass world, but they will give you a strong understanding of melodic structure. So let's talk about the period form and the sentence form. In an 8-bar piece of music like the A part of Red-Haired Boy, things break up nicely into 2-bar phrases. You'll notice that these phrases aren't exactly 2 bars because of the pickup notes that bring us into phrases, just like the pickups that brought us into A parts and B parts. These 4 phrases within the 8-bar A part all do specific jobs. Our first phrase is a strong melodic statement. Our second phrase is a little bit of a cliffhanger. Our third phrase is that same melodic statement from earlier. And our fourth phrase is a full resolution of the melody. Listen to me play the melody and see if you can hear what I'm talking about. This is called the period form. You hear it in all kinds of famous pieces of music. For instance, Mary Had a Little Lamb is a periodic melody. Right, so here's our strong statement, right? Cliffhanger. Here's that strong statement again. We're going to resolve the whole thing. Now, I've done a little bit of a sneaky thing in this video. Every fiddle tune we've talked about so far uses the period form. Here's the A part of Salt Creek. Strong melodic statement. Cliffhanger. Strong melodic statement again. Resolve the whole thing. Here's the A part of Arkansas Traveler. Strong melodic statement. Cliffhanger. Strong melodic statement again. Resolve it. I did mention another form though. I mentioned the sentence form. And this is a melody that doesn't have an identical first and third phrase. Generally in the classical world, sentence form means that you're iterating on a concept for each phrase. But for our purposes, it could even just be a through-line 8-bar melody. I probably use the term sentence. Let's look at Big Sciota for this one. All right, so before we even play it, you probably immediately notice that these 2 phrases aren't the same this time. Instead, these 2 phrases are the same. And our third phrase even starts the same, but surprisingly develops the melody upwards. Our fourth phrase, as usual, resolves everything. So let's take a second to thank all of our wonderful YouTube members while you listen to the melody and try to hear that sentence form. The B part of Big Sciota also uses a sentence form, but in this case we're twisting the same phrase to work through all of the different chord changes. So notice how all the phrases have kind of a lull in action in the second measure until the very end when our last phrase resolves everything. Take a listen, hear the sentence form again. Alright, if you're new to all of this, you probably need a list of fiddle tunes to get started. I prepared a list. Now, no list can be complete, but these are the ones that I hear at the jam all the time. Arkansas Traveler, Big Sandy River, Big Sciota, Bill Cheatham, Billy and the Low Ground, Blackberry Blossom, Cherokee Shuffle, Gold Rush, Red-Haired Boy, St. Anne's Reel, Salt Creek, Whiskey Before Breakfast. That would be a killer list to get started. Also, of course, you can get all those tabs on my website, but remember to check which version you're getting. Not all of them have versions in every difficulty yet, but regardless of your skill level, I encourage you to start with the simplest version before looking at any advanced fancy stuff, because the simple one will actually tell you how the melody works, and then you can see how someone decorated it. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed taking a lesson from the biggest, baddest Billy Goat in the barnyard. Don't forget about the new merch at the website. If you're feeling generous, you can hit the join button down there. You can become a YouTube member. There are transcription live streams every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and I will see you all later.